Driving right now to the San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge, right at the border. And this is an area where in Trump's first administration, they built a massive wall across an entire valley. You know, because of the way border wall construction happens, it functions above the law, it functions beyond the law. I bump up against border walls a lot and mining projects that are proposed for, some of the most important and spectacular conservation lands in the American Southwest. The San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge is, it's a refuge in the early 80s to protect this really large ciénaga at the border. Refuge is a little under 3,000 acres. It's a small area, but it boasts really incredible biodiversity. According to the Fish and Wildlife Service, they've documented over 1,600 species there, and that's pretty unheard of anywhere in the world.
So, Russ, if you wouldn't mind describing to me where we are right now.
Yeah, we're in the San Bernardino Valley. We're in southeastern Arizona. New Mexico is just a couple dozen miles that way. We're just a couple hundred feet from the border with Sonora, Mexico there. And this area is where, during the first Trump administration, the entire valley was walled in between 2019 and 2020. And this particular area where we're standing was a concrete batch facility, a big, massive facility that was used to mix concrete. And it's one of the things that used the most water in this valley.
Advocacy groups have raised concerns over groundwater depletion caused by border wall construction for years. In a 2019 email, Bill Radke, a former manager of the refuge, said that the Department of Homeland Security reported it would use up to 700,000 gallons of water per day to support the mixing of concrete and road maintenance during border wall construction.
It's steel bollard wall that we see here. Beneath that is a 5-foot deep trench.
Were there various wells that were drilled here? About how much water was pumped out of those wells? Did they need permits for an infrastructure project like this?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed scene. They used one local landowner's well, the Glen well, which is not too far beyond us here, but that did not provide enough water. And so they drilled multiple well sites right along the border. And right along the National Wildlife Refuge.
We're not exactly at the refuge. We're close by. Way back 5 years ago, Fish and Wildlife Service, they were warning CBP about the water usage out of concern for the refuge nearby. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, FOIA documents we received that were communications, email communications between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the refuge manager, and CBP was that the single greatest threat to wildlife in this region was the water drawdown that was used for the construction of this border wall. It was depleting surface water resources that provide habitat for a whole range of important species, but also threatened and endangered species that live directly in the spring systems. There's spring snails and there's endangered fish and endangered frogs.
Have we been able to document any changes to that ecosystem or the surrounding ecosystem? What you're describing is a little oasis in a vast land of nothing. It's dry.
Yeah, especially we know that the border wall itself has impacted wildlife incredibly just by blocking their movement. Trail cameras at the border have detected numerous species that are unable to move back and forth across this area. And so species on the Mexico side are completely cut off from the springs on the US side. At the springs themselves, some of the springs are now dry. They're no longer there.
The San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge was established in 1982 to protect what remained of wetlands of the historic San Bernardino Ciénaga. This 2,300-acre refuge is a large marsh that serves as a migratory corridor for wildlife along the U.S.-Mexico border.
Quite obviously, a desert oasis. Water is sitting on the surface, and we have waterfowl behind us, American coots, and I'm hearing a lot of wetland species, Chiricahua leopard frogs in the pond. And these spring systems are home to several threatened and endangered species. Wildlife here and migratory wildlife from far away, have co-evolved with this place being a wetland system.
The Fish and Wildlife Service says that the water table has declined over time. Solar pumps have been used at the refuge since 1991. However, the Department of Homeland Security provided mitigation funding in 2021 for multiple pumps following the conclusion of border wall construction. The Fish and Wildlife Service does not have accurate data on water usage related to border wall construction in the San Bernardino Valley.
The solar system we see over there is what's powering the pumps that are drawing water from the depths of the aquifer and putting them back on the surface. We can literally walk to each one of these spring systems and watch the water pour in from a PVC pipe.
Do you think that these ponds, these spring systems, will ever be able to pump water as they used to?
Yeah, I think the science is unclear about that. Can these systems recover over time, over dozens or hundreds of years? I think there is potential for that, but it's really unclear. I think we are on the precipice of ecosystems that are still really vibrant with wildlife, which they are in our part of the world, but that could very well disappear. Of real concern is what this means going forward. We know that border wall construction has started in the San Rafael Valley. If we lose the San Rafael Valley, we lose one of the very best last jaguar corridors for these cats to move back and forth between the breeding population in Mexico and really spectacular habitat north of the border.
Mousetrap Bacon has spent the last several decades in the Arizona borderlands, working to restore habitat for wildlife that move between the United States and Mexico. In that time, he's documented how new border wall cuts off wildlife pathways and affects local water tables. New border wall, such as the construction taking place in the San Rafael Valley and the headwaters of the Santa Cruz River.
So we are right in the center of the San Rafael Valley. And this road will ultimately take us down to the US-Mexico border. And we are paralleling the Santa Cruz River. It starts in the United States, in Arizona, and it flows from north to south, and it enters Sonora, where it crosses near the former town of Loquillo. There's just a few houses there now. And it spends about 20 miles down south of the border, makes a U-turn, and then it recrosses the border east of Nogales, near a place called Keno Springs. And then ultimately the Santa Cruz River flows past Tucson and into the Gila, and then that finally empties into the Colorado River. These grasslands are blue grama grasslands, cane beard grass. These are all grasses that are native to the Great Plains. Pronghorn, antelope, and prairie dogs, all of that is here. This entire basin we're in the San Rafael Valley, ultimately feeds the flow for the Santa Cruz River. This is the beginning of the construction process, and they're setting up the logistics and the structure for building the border wall.
Can you just start by telling us where we are and what we're looking at right now?
Yeah, we're here at the Santa Cruz River. This is a very crucial wildlife migration corridor in what we call the Sky Islands region. And the Sky Islands being these mountains that rise above these valleys of grass. A good majority of the Sky Islands have been walled off. And this is one of the last remaining wildlife corridors. You know, you ask yourself, why are they coming here? Well, it's water.
Is this a region where people hunt at all?
This is a very well-known hunting area. And there's two species of deer here, mule deer and white-tailed deer. So this has been prized by, sportsmen for a long time. Border walls will ultimately fragment populations, and the most likely scenario is that we're going to see a reduction in abundance and diversity of wildlife.
How close is the border construction that's happening right now?
I think it's around 5 to 7 miles to the east of us. They're staging right in the very center of the valley.
And they're planning on coming in this direction?
Both directions. They're going to work east and west.
And do you know like the distance that they're planning on going on either side?
It's a total of 27 miles across the valley.
And do we have any data on what that impact will be? Do we have any idea what it might look like?
Because of the Real ID Act of 2005, the Secretary of Homeland Security can waive all laws for the construction of border barriers. And this means the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, Endangered Species, Native American Graves Protection Act, eagles, everything. We're undertaking these projects without any means of knowing what kind of impacts we're going to make, on our environment.
And can you just say a little bit more about why border walls take so much water?
When they build these walls, which now are 30 feet tall, they have to put a concrete footer in the ground. And usually that's about 6 feet deep and about 3 feet wide. So in order to make that concrete, they need to drill wells. So they are drilling a couple wells east of here. And what happened at the San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge and the San Bernardino Valley is any indicator, they were pulling out on the order of 700,000 gallons per day. Multiply that times 900 days of this contract, and that's a phenomenal amount of water.
We're over the Santa Cruz River right now. And at this spot, there's a very small flow of water. You can't hear the water, it's trees that we're hearing. But this is what's left of the stream flow in the river.
Ross Humphreys is a conservationist and cattle rancher raising Angus beef south of Patagonia. In Arizona's high desert country bordering Mexico, his property is the north end of a rich ecological site that is home to many plants and animals on the endangered species list.
And here's a brag. In 2021, we were chosen as the Certified Angus Beef Producer of the Year nationwide.
Wow, that's incredible.
And that's what I said. Well, how did you do that? I'm in the middle of nowhere. The Nature Conservancy called this the last shortgrass prairie in Arizona. And it's been farmed for maybe 100 years. There are quinces, pear trees, apple trees, and black raspberry. And the Smithsonian's working all around the country looking at endangered plants, orchids in particular. And the Desert Botanical Gardens collected plants, seeds, and fluorescence here the first year I was out with them.
Can we get to see the orchids from here?
We need to walk out into there.
Should we do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm going to keep you out of the deep water.
Okay, good.
In the middle, we have a soil moisture sensor and a satellite transmitter that sends the soil moisture data to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C.
So how rare is this orchid?
It's unique to this site and one other in this county.
I see it's growing here in this really marshy area.
This is a cienega. It's been here for a bazillion years, and the water has flowed the whole time we've been here and supports lots of plants, lots of animals. Cattle have been grazing here since the 1800s, at least.
Sounds like there's a whole ecosystem here that's unique to this region.
For sure.
And how close are we right now to the border?
We are about 2 miles from Mexico right now.
How do you think this new border wall construction will be felt in this region.
My concern is water. You know, the political question is somebody else's question. I'm not in that game.
Yeah.
My concern is the water. If it dries, you could lose the orchid, you could lose the Mexican green garter snake, you could lose Huachuca spring snail, you could lose a bunch of other goodies. Plus, our neighbors have already had their wells go dry. We have one neighbor with 3 wells, 2 of which are dry, at his house.
And that's just like been recent?
This summer. Yeah, and he's 1,500 feet from the border.
So it was running dry before they started the border wall
We've had
construction.
3 years of a long drought, and 2 of his wells went dry.
Is he concerned with the construction?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the San Bernardino National Wildlife Refuge and at Paquito Springs, they pumped the water that got pumped to make concrete, pumped those properties dry. This spring can go dry, and you don't know till you did.
What struck me, and I've seen a lot of border wall construction, and is when I looked to the south in Mexico, I saw Sierra Azul. And I know that there are jaguars there, and that's the northernmost breeding population of ocelots. And now I'm also looking at some locations in the Huachucas where I know jaguars have been photographed and ocelots. And it's been the first time that I've stood in one location and actually been able to see the connectivity diminish. I can see it all in one space. It's like I can literally see a mountain peak and a valley on both sides, and the start of a border wall that's going to cut those animals off. Yeah. I've backpacked all these peaks and spent a lot of time in this valley when it was the most pristine place. When you look at it from Coronado Peak, looking off to the west, it looks just like it looked probably when Coronado was here, when Kino was here, you know. And that's all changing now.
Miles traveled to the valley in September when only the first section of the wall was up. Construction crews continued work during the government shutdown, and last weekend, community members, including newly seated Representative Adelita Grijalva, went to the valley to protest the expanding wall.